right, we are rolling, Luke. All right, you look like $1 million, like I said originally. This is my cousin, Luke Schuster, trainer, also ex-cheerleader, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to get into a lot of things with you today because you're such an interesting part of our family and just all in all in general, kind of the life you led. And I want to start off with the cheerleading, to be honest with you. A lot of times I go to the past and kind of give a history of who you are and all that, which we'll get into. But I want to really dive into the cheerleading thing quickly because I think a lot of people don't know what cheerleaders go through, especially male, like men, how you ended up in that, doing that. And then you went even to a collegiate level, correct?
Yeah, cheerleader Texas Tech University.
Yeah, so you went far beyond even saying somebody who does it when they're younger in troops, let's say dance, whatever troops that they travel all over, and then you did it in high school, and then you went to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me, first of all, how did you even, because I know you were an athlete before that, how did the transition go from sports, am I right, to cheerleading? How did that happen?
Well, it's a funny story because I was a gymnast in high school, gymnast most of my life, and I did sports all growing up. Little league soccer, baseball, basketball, you name it. Wrestling was a huge part of my
me too.
So I did all the sports under the sun, and then in high school I was on the gymnastics team, and I enjoyed gymnastics, but I always wanted to do something at the next level, and gymnastics wasn't going to be it. So I was in Spanish class with, of course, a cheerleader on the team, and she was telling me, we got in this silly argument that which one was harder, cheerleading or gymnastics. And she was like, well, why don't you come and try it? She was like, if you think it's that easy. I mean, I didn't think it was easy, but I thought gymnastics was harder, no doubt. In my head, I wasn't downplaying what cheerleaders did.
Sure.
And so I was like, okay, cool. And then, so the first thing I did is when I came, they're like, all right, you need to throw this girl. And I was like, what? And they're like, you need to throw her and catch her feet. And so it took me all of practice to do it one time, and then I was hooked from there. And then, that was my junior year of high school. I joined the cheerleading team, and then I started doing club after that, and then that's what led me to the collegiate level and going to Texas Tech on a cheerleading scholarship.
That's awesome. Yeah, because your mother, I was raised with your mother. I used to spend a lot of time with her. Because my father's nightclub was close to your mother's house. So my mother wouldn't allow me to stay a lot of times with my father, especially at night. So I'd spent it with your mom. And I grew up like yourself because your mother was an athlete. She was a cheerleader as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, you're right.
Was she at Western? I'm trying to remember what college. She went
to Western. Yeah, she went to University of Western Illinois.
Yeah, and we all come from a family that loves fitness, working out. But when I was younger, I played tons of sports like you. What was interesting is my mother signed me up for gymnastics because I could do the splits, I could do back handsprings, cartwheels. When I signed up, though, for gymnastics, I found it very boring and redundant because it was a sport where I was used to being competitive, right? Team sports or even tennis or wrestling, where that was almost very routine driven, and it almost made me crazy after a while. Like a floor routine, a horse, the rings. And you had to do it over and over and over again. I don't know if you went through that. Did you kind of go through that where it just became so boring for me? How about you?
Yeah, well, I mean, my mom can tell you stories of me in gymnastics as a kid. It just depended what coach I had, but I'd always get in trouble for waiting in line to do what was like the same thing. And I'd just be doing like round offs, back handspring stuff just off on the side. And I would get yelled at by the coach and I'd have to do 10 push-ups. And then I'd do my turn and then I'd get in trouble again. And so, I'm ADD. And so as a kid, it was, I kept myself busy. Yeah, I kept myself busy, but I ended up doing a lot of conditioning, but I think that's what also made me a stronger athlete and everything else. And because half the time I was doing push-ups and sit-ups and pull-ups and stuff like that because I got in trouble. But, when I was younger within gymnastics, I definitely felt that. I took a break from gymnastics. I did gymnastics up to like 6th grade. And then up that point I started, I was doing other sports. I did soccer, basketball, all that kind of stuff. So I took a break from 6th grade all the way to high school. And then I rejoined it in high school. So yeah, it's a very disciplined sport, and it's a lot of repetition because doing something great isn't good enough. You have to practice until you do something perfect. And that takes, about 10,000 reps to ever get something close to perfect. So
Yeah.
it is a very monotonous, repetitive sport where you're really pursuing perfection, which, the question is, does that ever really exist in any sport?
Yeah, all I used to hear from your mother, I'm sorry, is my son's exactly like you. My son's exactly like you, because we all love so many sports. And then I would see you once a year at a family picnic, and I'm a lot older than you guys. So I went and played a lot of high school sports as well. I even went to tennis academy and voluntary, which I loved. I kind of wanted to be a professional football player, but I was in high school way too small. But what was weird with me was after I graduated high school, I went from 135 to 220 pounds. I made this huge transition. I went literally from like a boy to a man at 19, grew 4 inches. And I just dove hard in the weightlifting. That's all I wanted to do is lift heavy weights. In your case now, when you went to high school, you must have excelled unbelievably in cheerleading to like get a scholarship for college, right? And you only did it for 2 years.
Yeah.
When you were doing high school, were you also traveling and doing those, like we see a lot of times on documentaries, reality shows, these troops, and I know my girlfriend Ria's niece does them. They're very expensive. They're very organized. Is that something you were involved with too that helped you excel, or was it just strictly high school, say football games or basketball or whatever?
It was 100% the club doing. It's called what club cheerleading is called. It's called All-Star Cheer.
Yes,
that's what it's named, is All-Star Cheer. It was definitely the All-Star Cheer because it's high school is it was good to get my feet wet, but as far as the competitive level, there's no comparison because it's the skill wise and the coaching, the level of coaching is a huge drastic difference between a club coach and someone who coaches at the high school level. There are great high school coaches out there, but they're just people who are getting paid, thousands of dollars to teach your kid. They know what they're doing. And so that was what really catapulted my skill level to actually go to college. I mean, high school cheerleading got me in the sport. It was the club level that got me to where I needed to be to actually even think about doing it in college.
So it was worth the investment for you? And you hear a lot of people with their daughters more than men, putting them in these troops or these traveling teams, I guess you could, gymnastics.
Squads, yeah.
And they do it from a young age with the hopes of getting a scholarship, right? But they spend a tremendous amount of money doing that. It's very similar to like what a lot of people spend money in baseball. It could be basketball camps, even football. So in your case, you only did 2 years. It probably worked out well for you.
Yeah.
Do a lot of people get scholarships, or is it hard? How does that work with cheerleading?
So the sad thing is that there's not a lot of cheerleading scholarships out there, and especially for women. It's really, it just depends where you go. Like the top schools give scholarships, but they're not like full rides or anything. I went to Texas Tech, which has the best scholarship program out there. They waive out of state. They give you $1,000 a semester for school. And then you also get a meal plan, which is more than most schools get. Most places like right down the street in Oklahoma State, which is Stillwater, they won like 4 national championships back to back, and they don't give any scholarship. So the reward is just to be on a team.
Sure.
So,
gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it more, how do I say this? I can't say is it easier for a man to get a scholarship because there's not as many of you, let's face it, compared to women? Because it seems like a lot of these teams or cheerleading in general is geared 90, am I wrong, % women and 10% men.
Yes. So it depends. It depends on the there's 2 type of college teams. You have an all-girl team, which it speaks for itself. It's only girls. And then you have a co-ed team. And then the second part of that is, are they competitive? Because you have just sideline teams that only do football games, only do basketball games, and they don't compete. And then you have teams like, University of Kentucky, Texas Tech, Louisville, Oklahoma State, schools like that do sideline, and they go to nationals and compete for titles. So it depends on where you're going. It's easier to make a non-competitive team, obviously, whereas then more competitive teams, it just depends where you're going. There's, a co-ed team, you have a 50-50% chance. It's definitely getting more competitive for men than it has in the past. In the past, it's been competitive, but the level of athlete every year in the sport is just getting higher and higher. And so if I were to try out for Texas Tech now, where I was with my skill level when I tried out, I probably wouldn't make it. And
Wow.
but it just depends. Girls definitely is harder to make as a girl because there's more girls that do the sport. So just by a number basis, you have at Texas Tech, for instance, we had almost 150 women try out, and then I think we had around 45 guys try out for a squad with, usually about 18 guys and about 18 girls.
Wow. And let's call it for what it is. You aren't the biggest guy or the tallest, obviously, on the team, right? Yeah. Was it harder on you controlling the women? Because you had to be I think so much stronger to a level to prove, or I should say, prove your strength, that you were as strong as a guy who was 6'1" that can throw a girl or catch a girl, right? The trust value there, because if you make a mistake, a woman could, you know what I mean? Break her head, break her back. How was that with being competitive? Because I know in high school and certain times I was always the small guy fighting to be as big as or strong. You know what I mean? But it's all about them trusting you. Did they trust you? How did you work that out?
So a lot of girls didn't have a problem trusting me as a guy of my stature. I mean, like I said, people don't know I'm 5'1". I'm like 130 pounds. My thing was that I had to be way more technical and way more explosive than bigger guys. Bigger guys could get away with just, overpowering things, but I had to actually really rely on learning how to do things right, really, really technical with my form and technique and stuff like that. Because if I didn't do something right, the stunt wouldn't work, where someone who was bigger than me could make it work regardless if they had, a little mistakes here and there. So it made me more of an explosive athlete, because if I didn't have that explosiveness, that fast twitch to use in my advantage, there was no way I was getting anybody up.
Right. And have you ever been injured yourself doing this, or?
Yeah, nothing catastrophic, but I've definitely had a few concussions from catching girls, elbows to the face and, things like that. I've had ankle issues, and my last year I had really bad back issues, but nothing catastrophic where I was in the hospital, but a lot of compounding injuries through the years, especially once I got to the college level. It was because you're practicing on hard floor. So it's just basically basketball court with a mat over it, about 4 to 5 days a week. With tumbling, it's really, it's a lot on the joints.
Absolutely. And I hear all these things, I don't know if they're true or not, that there's more injuries than, say, for instance, a lot of mainstream sports, including, I don't know, football and all these other things. Is that true? I mean, you've been around it now a long time. Are the injuries, are there that many injuries, or is it kind of blown out of proportion?
So when you look at the statistics of it, it says that way. And so it just depends. The thing is with the cheerleading is that for so long, it wasn't very tightly regulated like other sports. Like when you have a football team, a high school football team, they have a trainer on deck, and they also have, medical staff there ready to go. Cheerleading, they're sometimes practicing under a tree and out to the side and not on flat surfaces and stuff. And then they have a coach who's never done cheerleading who has volunteered to do the cheerleading position because no one else would take it. So for the biggest majority of the time, it's just the regulations and the actual quality of coachings has what led to more injuries than more so than not. But there are a lot more injuries in my experience with cheerleading when you talk about the broad scope of things, than I wouldn't say than more than football. I mean, I think football has more catastrophic injuries, but more smaller injuries. Like you're talking sprained ankles, like concussions, stuff like that happens on a daily. I mean, if anyone's watched Netflix Cheer, the documentary Cheer, that's pretty much what college cheerleading is. Like you could be everything would be fine. You guys are practicing a pyramid and something goes wrong and someone falls from 10 feet high and has a concussion or falls on her arm or breaks her arm. It's a very instant thing.
Yeah, that's one of the things too. When I was telling Rhea I was going to interview you, she's excited. She wants to see that documentary. Isn't it a series or is it just a film? I can't remember.
It's a documentary. I think there's like a 6 or 7 part documentary.
Okay, awesome. Yeah.
Episode.
Yeah, so she wanted to see that, and she was all excited. I was going to interview you, and I think she's going to show it to her niece as well. The trust that you must build with your team, the guys, and especially the girls, because literally you're launching them in the air. It looks like it could be 5, 10, 20 feet. Something. I don't even know. It looks unbelievable. Yeah. Even your photo that I want to use for this YouTube, when I posted on YouTube, you holding the girl up, that's an amazing photo of you just, I don't know how you build that trust. Like, women must 100%, I don't want to say love you guys, but really put everything into it to say, please protect me. Cause it's really a lot of times up to you to make sure that she does not really end up in the emergency room or in intensive care or who knows where, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's just kind of part of the sport. Like, if you're a girl and you want to be on a co-ed team, you know what you're signing up for. You're going to get, you're going to get thrown, you're going to get put up by one person. And there is definitely a trust that you, I guess you develop with that person. Like I still, like when you have a stunt partner, which is called the person that you're stunning with, I mean, you have to trust them, they have to trust you, and them, like they have to be willing to trust you to try new things. And so it's kind of a partner / relationship between a teammate that I have never experienced in any other sport. Like you have your teammates and stuff, and you trust them to catch the ball and stuff, but that's different when someone's trusting you to make sure you catch them and they don't break their ankles or their arms or anything like that, or you drop them on their head. So yeah, it's a definitely something that has to be developed through time, practice.
Yeah, when I went to Nick Ballantieri Tennis Academy when I was a junior, you lived at a camp I was there a couple weeks, and I was around a lot of beautiful young girls, more than I've ever seen in my entire life. And that's what me growing up in the nightclub business with my father, but they were all fit. They came from all over the country, all over the world for that matter. And truthfully, I loved being around those type of girls because a lot of them are very competitive. They're in shape and you bond with them. A lot different than, say, the relationships I had before that with other people that were just, say, a girlfriend or someone I knew casually. Do you think for men, I should say, do you think going into cheerleading was like also the component was there's a lot of beautiful fit women here, right? I'm around a lot of cool girls, competitive. We travel together. It almost again becomes like, a fraternity, sorority kind of blends together, I guess.
For sure. It's a 100% different component, especially a college cheerleader, because you're hanging out with the most beautiful women usually in the campus, and they're the most fit, they're the tiniest, like they have the best personalities, but a lot of them became my best friends. And so, it changes the scope having, because as a guy, a lot of people, they're like, oh, like, I get the questions like, oh my God, how do you hang out with them all the time? And I just think about banging them the whole time. I'm like, well, because they're my friends. They're my teammates. You know what I mean? Like it's a different thing, but it definitely also, when you're around that many beautiful women and then, with that personality, it definitely changes how you view, the scope of other relationships and stuff with other girls and stuff. So it's kind of a twofold. It's like kind of like a double-edged sword. It's great. But then again, it kind of, I guess when you're used to looking around very fit girls and stuff, it changes what you look for in other people too. Because that's very, as me being a college shooter, it's very important for my fitness. And now someone else having fitness in their life is very important to me, is what I value,
Absolutely. And when I think like you, we were mainly playing sports, at least when I was younger. It may have been mixed with you, but I was always against other men, and it's very competitive. It becomes a guy's thing, right? Every team I was on, I was playing against other men. Then all of a sudden I'm playing tennis with all these beautiful women. Not only that, some were better than me. Some were amazing athletes. Like some went on to be professional tennis players, and all of a sudden, literally they're at the US Open or they're at Wimbledon. Mm-hmm. And you're like, holy shit, I used to, practice with these people. So it's interesting when you start doing sports, I think, with blending women where it's the same sport. You work together. It's not like I just said, if you're on a football team, most likely it's all dudes. On a baseball team, you're with all dudes, right? Uh-huh. So that's a whole different dynamic, and learning to be patient with one another, you know what I mean? And learning different strengths and weaknesses that you got to work together and balance coordination. It's not just you with a bunch of dudes.
Yeah, definitely a different dynamic for sure. Being teammates with guys and girls being teammates, it really changes the whole, like, the dynamic of a team and the way you guys communicate and stuff, because you can't communicate to a girl the same way you communicate to a guy. Like I couldn't go up to a girl and be like, that sucked. You need to be better. Like you have to find better ways to approach that. There are some girls who could take it. There's some girls who you needed to find different ways to communicate, and just how girls communicated together, they wouldn't communicate the same way to guys. They'd be, more blunt and more to the point. So learning the communication to that point changes the whole dynamic to a team.
Yeah, and I'm sure the way you talk to each other, it's a lot more respectful, the way you handle each other. Those are all things that are probably much different, obviously, than if you just play male versus male, because you're like a bunch of goddamn animals sometimes.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, for sure, 100%.
So when you went to college to do this, what were you mainly doing? Football games, or were you doing basketball? What was the...
So we did everything. We cheered football games, we cheered basketball games, we cheered volleyball games. So we cheered men and women's basketball. So those were the big sports that we did. But we also were the face of the university. So we had to do a lot of things for like the alumni association and stuff. And we'd have to go to like events that they put on and just have our uniform on and people take pictures with us, or kids take pictures with us. So it was a time commitment on top of, we were practicing about 4 days a week because we also, we were a competitive team. So our big goal, our big picture is getting ready for nationals. So we use games kind of as extra practice time to do that, but it was also a big obligation because that's the reason why we were funded by the school, was to show up at the sideline for things. But our practices were more 95% of our practice time was geared towards getting competitively ready, putting routines together, working on skills.
Yeah, and I always found this fascinating because if you went to college, because some of my friends were athletes, say you did basketball or even football, you had practice and then you had obviously playing time. You had all those things, but they also seemed to get some downtime where it looked like cheerleaders. You guys are always practicing. Like you said, you're at all these different games and then you do it competitively, right, against other universities. Mm-hmm. How much time, were you guys, the time that you guys had to put into this, how'd you have time for academics? It's because that's a lot than just saying,
Yeah,
it almost sounds like a whole year or 8-9 months where basketball season's this amount, football season's this. How did you?
Yeah, it's a huge time commitment to be on a competitive cheer team, because you have fall, which is football, you have winter, which is basketball, and then spring is when we compete. So it's not like a one season thing. Like football is done in fall, basketball is done in winter, and then they have their off seasons. Our off season isn't until summer, and you get about 1 month of summer until you have to report back to school for summer practices. So in the entire time, like I said, we have about 4 practices during the year until we're in competition season. And then we also, at some universities, Texas Tech, I was lucky enough, we had a strength and conditioning program where we worked out at the athletic center 4 days a week, where we had to actually do lifts and stuff put together by graduate assistants from their strength and conditioning program and stuff. So we're lifting 4 days a week, we're practicing 4 days a week, and then we have games on the weekends. And then again, school involved in with that. And then we also had, sometimes we had to do events for the alumni association and just other stuff like that was thrown in there intermittently. So I was very busy through college, for sure, to say the least.
What do you guys jump on buses, kind of like the band, for instance, or are you with the band, or are you solo, or how does that work with you guys?
So every school is different. It depends on their funding. But again, at Texas Tech, just that's what I'm referring to because that's where I went. Sure. We had our own buses that we were for every football game. We'd get our own buses to cheerleaders and pom teams, and then for nationals, we'd have our own buses and stuff. So for the away games, we'd get bused to by our private charter bus.
I gotcha. So was it blended too? Like, say you went to a hotel where the girls and everybody just mixed rooms. Is it like like spring break all the time? I think a lot of people would like to know. Like, you all travel together. In college, is it spring break when you're not doing that, or is it like you guys all are on separate floors, separate hotels?
No, the guys are all in rooms together, and the girls are all rooms, but we weren't on like separate floors. Like, we'd all be on the same, but our coach would be on the same level too. So there was not too much shenanigans going around.
Co-ed dorm style, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like that atmosphere. Mm-hmm. It had to be a blast, though. It had to be a blast.
Yeah, definitely. It was the best time of my life. If I could go back and relive it now, I would.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of guys realize being on a team like that, how fun it could be as well. They just think it could be, they kind of fluff it off, or they think if you're not playing a mainstream sport, let's just say it's not cool. But the reality is, I used to see a lot of your photos. You were having a great time, not only when you were cheering and stuff, but even on the time off, right? Spring break, Christmas break. You guys were all having a blast.
Oh yeah, for sure. I would say just how cheerleading is like college cheerleading level is like you kind of hit it on the head. It's really a fraternity, like how close you get with your teammates. Like I just went to a bachelor party before this whole thing, everything got shut down, from one of my teammates from college. And it was all of us. It was all of us that cheered together at Texas Tech, and we all still talk. We all have messages and stuff. And so we're like brothers for life. And I still talk to some of my old, my teammates that are girls and stuff. And so it's a very, fraternity-like sorority type of feeling once you go through a full year with someone and all the ups and downs through a season.
Yeah, that's incredible. And do you also, while you're in college, do you join another fraternity, or is this kind of becomes most of your guys' fraternity, like you're saying? Do guys do both, or are you just so absorbed into this you have no time for anything else?
Yeah, so some schools don't allow you to join fraternities and sororities on top of cheerleading. Texas Tech allowed you to. None of the guys who I cheered the entire time were in a fraternity. When I was there, some girls were sororities on top of that, but you're talking about like one or two a year, maybe one. Yeah. It's very time consuming, but if someone wanted to do that, it was an option. It just wasn't very common.
Gotcha. So let's go. You're in college. You're getting ready to graduate, and I think a lot of people who play mainstream sports, they want to become a professional or end up coaching, or maybe following in some type of whatever they did over the years. They want to be a part of it, maybe in their future. With cheerleading, was that one of your things? Did you want to eventually end up coaching, traveling with troops, or was it like, this is it, college, I'm done with cheer?
Yeah, there's no pro level for cheerleading after college. Like you go into it knowing that this is going to be the last 3-4 years I'm going to do this, and then you kind of just wrap it up. A lot of people will go into coaching cheerleading afterwards at the club level, and then from there. But me, I had my fill of the sport, and I wanted to really go out and adventure and use my degree and other things.
Oh, that's wonderful. So let's graduate now. Where did you immediately say, I'm going to be a trainer, a personal trainer? Did you go anywhere? Did you go to another gym like LA Fitness, 24 Hour Fitness, or how did you find Orangetheory? Like, how did that? Because that's not a lot of people go to Orangetheory that I know, but it's huge. I mean, there's 1,000 now, and
there's over.
How did you find it? Yeah. I kind of lucked out. I graduated. I had a degree. I hadn't quite yet got my personal training certification. And so I was applying to a lot of places, and they wouldn't hire you as a trainer without the certification. So I had actually an interview at F45 and 2 Orangetheories back in Chicago. Okay. And the one place, F45, they told me can't hire you until you're a trainer. I was like, I understand. And then the one place where I ended up working, they were like, well, we can make you a sales associate until you get your, training certification. And then if we ever have an opening, we can, highly consider you. I was like, okay, that sounds good. And so I started off at the Schaumburg location in Chicago as a sales associate. So I was a person behind the desk selling memberships and stuff. And while I was doing that, I was studying and getting ready to take my test. I finally took my test and passed it. I was a sales associate, I think for like 3 more months until they opened up a secondary location. And then I applied for that to be a trainer, and I passed. And then I got the training certification through Orangetheory, and kind of the ball just kept rolling from there. And I've been a trainer since there. And then shortly after that, I had an opportunity to transfer and become a trainer in the Dallas Lane area where I have more friends, more social life. And that's where I made the jump. I got you. That's awesome. I just did, which was funny, 2 days ago, a podcast with my girlfriend and her best friend, LA Fitness versus
Orangetheory.
Versus Orangetheory. It was just to get 2 totally different perspectives on what they love about them and what they don't. Yeah. It was from the whole process signing up and how, the whole thing of I'm going to be posting that as well. And it was a fluke because I said, I think my damn cousin, after I did that, and I went and looked, and I told them, and they were laughing their asses off. But I want to ask you some things about Orange Theory because, it's such a different style gym. Now there's so many of them. Like we said, I think there's 1,200. I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's
a
over
lot.
20-something countries. And it's the fastest growing fitness boutique style studio in like the world.
And I have literally visited, and I'm not exaggerating, I used to say hundreds, but I think it's thousands at this point over my life, different gyms throughout North America. I've even done gym tours on every style gym in North America, from LA Fitness, 24-hour Lifetime, Planet, Good Life. I've done them at Equinox. It goes on and on and on. Golds, Worlds, all of them. I've been the members to half of them. And I've never been inside your gym. I almost looked at it originally like Curves, where it was almost for women, because I only heard women actually going there, which I know there's a lot of men there that go there as well. It's such a different style gym because they almost regulate you, with your heart and all that. You want to walk me through that a little bit from what you are trained to do, or when someone comes in for your class.
So just a kind of brief overview of what Orange Theory is. It's an hour HIIT workout. It's a high intensity interval training workout. There's two components of the workout. It's an hour long. You're going to spend about half the class on the cardio section, where you're either doing the treadmills, or some people option to do biking ellipticals. And then you have half the class where you're going to be doing in the weight room, where you'll be using the water rower for some more muscle endurance, and then you'll also be doing weights, stuff like that. So every workout is different, so we don't repeat workouts, so it's constantly varying workout. You are, like you alluded to, are hooked up to a heart monitor. That is for the cardio section, so you can train and really watch your progress with your just basically cardio in general. So we make sure you're not overtraining and you're not undertraining on the cardio side, and then the floor is set up differently every single day. So as a coach, I'm basically running intervals on the mic. I have a mic, and I'm basically have a stopwatch rush. I'm calling out intervals, whether you're going faster, slower, walking recovery on the treads, while I'm also correcting technique and form on the floor. I'll demonstrate all the exercises, and then at the 40th to work, and I start out calling out intervals on the tread side. So there's two things going on at once. Usually you'll have anywhere from 12 to 20 people in class at a time.
Yeah, because I didn't know if it was like, and I think a lot of people think this when they think of Orange Theory, they've never been there maybe, or haven't seen a video. They think it's almost like a cycling class, right? You're kind of doing it with them, or something like a dance class, or, you're not doing that. You're actually there coaching.
Yeah. I'm not the only kind of movement I do is I demonstrate the exercises before you guys will have them. So if it's a bicep curl, I will grab weights, and I'll recommend certain weights for, certain ranges for the movement. I'll do the bicep curl a few times, and I demonstrate the next 3 or 4 exercises. And then I will kind of let you guys have at it. And I start queuing the treads up. While I'm queuing the treads up, I'm walking down the line, looking at technique, looking at form, maybe bringing in someone heavier weight, because I think they can go heavier, and just doing more. It's called group personal training. So the whole idea is to give you that personal touch where you're still being corrected and watched on the floor, but you're still able to do work at your own pace with the exercises we give you.
And so how do you get your workout in throughout the day then? So you work out. How do you, do you go to a class where somebody else is hosting one? I actually don't do the Orange Theory workouts as my main source of workout. Okay. I use them as a component of what I do for fitness. Okay. I will try to take 1 or 2 classes a week because I use them pretty much for my cardio and for, just kind of overall mobility as far as changing things on the floor. But I am a big proponent of heavy compound lifting. I go to a normal gym, and I get under the barbell a lot, love the squat, deadlift, all that kind of stuff. So I do that about 5 days a week. And then some weeks I'll throw in about 1 or 2 Orange Theory classes just to keep my cardio and keep things, different also as well. But I'll usually minimum do 5 days a week lifting. Yeah, I would, even me, if I had to say go after the Orange Theory concept, I would do very similar to what you're doing, probably because I would only want to do, cardio's fine, 2 days a week, but I still love weights. I also love a gym that's going to have a pool, a sauna, jacuzzi, steam room, possibly all the hammer strength equipment, hoist, whatever we get, light fitness. I grew up lifting a lot of those weights, dumbbells. So I would have to do kind of what you're doing. And I'm sure to a lot of people, they would like to do that too, but it's the expense too of maybe becoming a member of 2 different gyms, right? To a certain degree.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely, Orange Theory is not cheap. It's a little more on the cost side. But it depends what your goals are. I mean, 100%, like I tell people who even come, Orange Theory is great for most people because most people have goals of they want to be healthy, they want to be fit. If you, as a guy, if you've been lifting for a while, you want to build muscle, you want to build the metabolism, you want to get strong, Orange Theory isn't really going to cater to those goals. So that's going to be where the barbell stuff, the big box gyms and stuff like that come from there. And then there's also the aspect like, do you want to make your own workouts, or do you want to just show up to Orange Theory, take a class, get a good workout and go? And a lot of people, with very small time constraints, that's why a lot of people love it, because they can show up, get a workout, go. They don't have to think about anything. Where, we're talking big box gym, you're either making your own workouts or paying someone to make your own workouts. Either way.
Yeah, and I've always loved being a member of 2 different gyms. It was just my thing growing up. Even I was at a Gold's, I was at a World's. Even though they were similar, but I just needed that switch up. And I also love going to a different gym possibly anytime I can. That's why I love traveling so much. And about a year and a half, 2 years, I was able to visit like 500 cities throughout North America, and I almost went to a different gym throughout every city, even if it was an LA Fitness. That's what I started to do, the gym tours and stuff. And I love doing gym tours. The thing is, people started to freak out. And then the other thing is, management either loved me being there or hated me being there. It was such a bipolar.
I bet. Yeah.
Yeah. Please videotape. Even if it was an LA Fitness 24 hours, some loved me, some didn't.
Yeah.
But I always tell people, try and experiment with different things, obviously. And one day I got to definitely try your gym, because it's one of the gyms that I love Crunch Fitness.
Yeah.
That's another gym that I used to be a member too.
I used to be a member of Crunch too back in Chicago.
Yeah, I love Crunch. I love all gyms to a certain degree, but I don't necessarily like a cardio-only driven gym, I guess you could say, or facility.
Yeah.
That's
for sure.
I'm 50 years old, so I've been beaten up. So it's cardio's cool with me, but I'd like to more or less swim and get the buoyancy and do something like, even if it's elliptical, I like to crew.
Yeah.
The days of even wrestling or doing some boxing and stuff destroyed me, because again, my joints, tendons are rotten.
That's why I love rowing. That's why I think one of the things that separates us for a lot of places is that we incorporate rowing. And one of my goals when I get my own place in my own house, I want to have a rower in the garage. Like, that's just one of my favorite types of cardio too. But I'm very the same. I have a dog, so I do a lot of walking. I'm a very big proponent to sprint workouts. So I'm either doing sprints or I'm either walking my dog. But Orange Theory is amazing just for overall health. Like I said, half the time you're doing the cardio. When I was doing it before I left Chicago, I was doing it about 5 days a week. And at 28, I ran a faster mile than I did when I was 16 because of the Orange Theory workout. So the one thing I will tell you, like the cardio, the way they do the intervals, everything's put together by a cardiologist.
Yes.
So if something you want to get good health and get heart health and be really good with endurance, it'll definitely help you. But again, we also do weightlifting to help you, build muscle and help your metabolism and stuff. It's just not the big barbells that I personally love.
Yeah, me too. And, I talk about this all the time on my videos. Is a lot of people don't even realize they've never discovered their true potential with fitness or with the type of condition they could get in. That doesn't mean that you have to get crazy and go run a marathon. Yeah. I just talk about and say, hey, you may have not realized you could be stronger when you're 30 and 40 than you actually were in your teens, late teens, or 20s. But they don't know that because they never went out and discovered it. And they don't try different things, right? So everybody's evolving, but a lot of people weren't athletes when they were younger, so they quit, right? And they kind of carry that for the rest of their life, but they don't realize they may be exceptional at, say, rock climbing, or they may be exceptional at crew, right? You just got to go test it and realize it takes years to develop that skill. And then once it kind of kicks in, like what you're going through with sprints, you discover new things all the time, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's The best part of my job that I get enjoyment out of is when people realize what they're capable of. Because I've had members come in who have never worked out a day in their life or just weren't very fit growing up.
Yep.
That we did a mile and they told me they've never ran a mile in their life, and they ran a mile under 9 minutes, and they never thought that'd be ever physically possible for them at 55. And
Absolutely.
they couldn't even do that at 25. And so the human body is amazing. I absolutely love it. I dive deep into research and books all the time on my free time. Not that I have to, but just because I love it. It's just, it's a crazy thing. The body is capable of crazy things and crazy changes.
Yeah, I say just start off walking if you've never done anything. And then just start off cycling. Start somewhere. And then if you lose weight or you start to feel better, go to there. Keep moving forward. But you don't have to go from 0 to 100, right? A lot of people think, oh my God, if I run, I got to run 4 miles. Or if I got to cycle, I got to do 10 miles a day. It's ridiculous. But that's kind of, a lot of people think, I got to look like this. I got to get to that level to be in shape. You really don't. You don't have to have a six pack. You could be in great shape without a six pack.
Yeah, you can be healthy. I mean, the biggest thing I think for, especially in American society and American culture, is that the goal should be to be healthy.
And feel good.
We're just as a society, we're not very healthy. We have, unbelievably high overweight and obese numbers, and diabetes and heart health issues and heart attacks. Like, they're the number one killer in, the country. But it's also preventable. It's 100% preventable if, you live a healthy lifestyle. But I think that's the problem overall, is that, the mass don't.
Do you think being in cheerleading, were they, I don't mean to throw that back into it, but I was just thinking, do you think with nutrition, were they regulating you guys because, your food intake, or were they weighing you guys? Were they making you go on diets if the women got too heavy? Any of that stuff?
No, the school and the coaches themselves weren't regulating, but when you're a competitive athlete at that level, I mean, because at Texas Tech, we got top 3 all 3 years. We got second, and we were literally 0.05 away from winning the national championship my second year. And so when you're at that competitive level, you self-regulate. When, girls, we never had to say anything to girls, but when it was Daytona time, they would get shredded. They would get so tiny. I mean, you're talking about maybe for a girl under 20%, maybe 15% body fat when it was time to compete. And guys, through the year, we were trying to get bigger. We were trying to get stronger. Our numbers in the beginning of the year wouldn't be the same as they would at the end of the year when we maxed out again. I mean, my back squat would go up 75 pounds through the year. And so, no one was regulating, but in that competitive nature, people knew what needed to be done to get the result that we wanted.
So what's the future for you now hold? You're a trainer at Orangetheory. Now I realize too, though, I'll throw this in there. You've been doing a lot of workouts. I'm seeing Facebook on Facebook with you doing it at home.
Yeah.
So are you incorporating what you learned at Orangetheory at home, or are you training people at home or helping some of your clients? How's that going for you during the Corona thing?
I stay in touch with our Facebook groups. We have Facebook groups for the studios I work at. So I work at 2 different studios. We can stay in touch. The workouts that I'm posting on right now are just for people who need something to do at home. See, people who need different type of exercises. Orangetheory is doing their own at-home workouts for our members. So they're staying in touch with that. So the stuff I'm doing is just pretty much me taking my own knowledge and applying it to my own workouts, because I do my own workouts anyway. We talk about going to weights and doing barbells and stuff. And so I'm very more strength-based, and I want to maintain strength. And so that's pretty much, people can take it if they want. I don't even know if anyone's using them, but I'm posting just kind of that information out there. Hey, if you're looking for a workout to do, this is what I did today. And, just trying to maybe help someone who maybe needed help or needed a workout.
You think you'll ever go back to your cheerleading roots and coach or anything in that nature?
Probably not, just because I'm very committed to my occupation as a trainer, especially with Orangetheory. It's a full-time job. I just can't see myself having any time to do that.
Right.
I did enjoy coaching when I was in college and high school. I did some coaching on the side, but that pretty much is I think the chapter is past, and I'm really focused on what I'm doing right now for my career.
Nice. What do you plan on? Just moving up with Orange Theory, or eventually starting your own franchise, your own clothing line, or just everybody's when it comes to fitness, everyone's kind of got these where they want to stay fit and also transition to something. It seems like always, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's a lot of steps, to be had. Right now, I'm just a trainer. You can become a head trainer, which is you're basically, the manager of the fitness side of a studio. Like, you're in charge of the trainers under you. You're the one who's scheduling classes and scheduling, appointments and stuff. And with your trainers, and then on top of that, so you have a head trainer, and then you have a regional trainer who's in charge of the region and stuff. And so those are kind of goals I do have in mind, but like big picture, like my dream job would be to end up on the program design team for Orange Theory. So the people who put the workouts together, who make the workouts and test the workouts and stuff like that. So that'd be, big long term. I would love to end up, working with corporate, actually making the workouts that are distributed across the country.
Oh, I gotcha. Where is corporate headquarters with them? I never even looked that up. California?
It's actually in Florida. I think Boca Raton. I think.
Get out of here! I never knew that.
I think Fort Lauderdale.
I'm always in Boca. Yeah. Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah. So I can't remember if it's either Fort Lauderdale or Boca. I think they have like two different. I want to say maybe I think it's Boca. It's either one of those, Boca or Fort Lauderdale. I knew that. Well, get your ass out here then. That's awesome. What else was I going to ask you? I had a couple more questions. I'm trying to think. Oh, for people that are that want to say run a marathon or a triathlon or say get involved with CrossFit a little bit, do you think Orange Theory is a good starting point for them? Yeah, I mean, for sure. Especially if you've never ran a marathon or a half marathon in general, like Orange Theory is a great way to build a base and even use as cross training. So in Chicago, the Chicago Running Association, it's called CARA, Chicago Association of Running Association, whatever it's called, is actually partners with Orange Theory. That Orange Theory is the preferred cross trainer for marathon runners in Chicago. It's great. So I was in Schaumburg in the Chicagoland area. We had a lot of marathon runners that would do it 2 times a week. So they're actually getting other type of cardio in, and also getting weights in on the floor and also rowing, which is low impact. So it's definitely great. I have a lot of people who do marathons and do half marathons in my studios here in Texas, and they use it as a cross trainer because you'll run maybe I'm not really familiar with endurance training, but 3 to 4 times a week. And then you can throw in 2 times of Orange Theory or 1 time because, cross training is what really helps the joints and everything stay fresh. You do want to have some kind of resistance training, even if you're a marathon runner. Even a little bit will go a long way. I mean, obviously you're not going to be getting under a barbell rack and trying to throw up 2 stacks, but, making sure you're getting a well-balanced fitness routine will help any kind of athlete. So, for someone who definitely wants to get into that, Orange Theory is a great place to start, a great place to build your cardiovascular fitness. Yeah,
that's what I heard. And, I like it because they don't waste a lot of time, I heard, either. It's not like you go in there and stretch for 15 minutes, hypothetically, or, like a lot of bullshitty things. It's really getting it done. You know what I mean? It's like when you step in there, it's time to do the workout. It's not fluffy bullshit a lot of times. As you know, you take a lot of classes sometimes. A third of it is kind of, you know what I mean? But in your case, from what I understand and what I've heard, they're very intense. They're almost competitive, not necessarily with the other clients or the other people. It's with yourself, right?
Yes. That's what really drives, I think, Orange Theory as a franchise is that the way the workouts are set up, it's you versus you. And that's through the heart rate monitor. And if you're a competitive person, you like to compete, you compete against yourself. And if you're more of a shy person that you've never been to a gym and don't want to compete against other people, it still doesn't deter you from going because you are the one competing against yourself. And you get to see your own results. And the technology behind Orange Theory is absolutely insane.
That's what I heard.
Between the booking apps, every time you take a class, you have all your results sent to you through the app. And then you can literally composite your results from that day to the last year to the last month and all that kind of stuff. And there's just, with the heart rate monitor, there's a lot to it. And they keep coming out with more stuff to add inside the room too. We just came out with tablets that you put on treadmill that'll show you your distances, your speeds, and your heart rate monitor right on top of it to show you what zones you're in and stuff. So they keep adding more, and they keep, talk about adding more. They're coming out with an add-on to the Apple Watch too now that you can put it on instead of wearing a heart rate monitor. You can just wear an Apple Watch and do the band with the Apple Watch, and it'll sync to your Apple Watch on top of the class.
That's awesome. My girlfriend Rhea, her friend Bria, that she's all Orange Theory.
Mm-hmm.
And she was telling me too, is she was also a grade school, high school, college athlete. And when she goes to Orange Theory, she loves it because she still feels that competitiveness. And she also feels like she's with a group of people, mm-hmm. and they're all kind of, it's a driving force, the energy behind it. And it's also very social, she says. She moves a lot because of her business. So when she goes to a new Orange Theory, you get to meet a lot of new people. And she loves those type of people for some reason. She says these just really clicks with everyone in the club, the instructors, and the other people that obviously work out there. So,
yeah, it's definitely very community based.
Yeah.
There's studios that I have made friends that are my clients and stuff. And then I've been invited to like family, like get-togethers and things like that. And I'm just a trainer, and that's me and other trainers too. So that's the one thing I do love. It's a community, and it's a very supportive community. So it's not, it's very different from the boxes, the big boxes that you go in, you work out, you don't talk to anybody. And so sure. I personally love that. I love throwing my headphones on, cranking up the music and going to work. But a lot of people who aren't, as, I wouldn't say not as driven, but not as that mindset where they want to be isolated, once there is their home, because they get to talk to people, they get to catch up, they get to make friends, and it's more of a social atmosphere.
Yeah, I grew up in an environment where, you had Walkmans and shit, but you automatically became social. You became friends with everyone in the gym because you had no other choice to a certain
mm-hmm.
degree, right? Because you weren't just putting your headphones in and blocking everybody out. I always said too, with people that work out, a lot of times they think they're introverted.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't realize they probably may like to be social. They just don't know how to do it. If they were put in the right situation, they could be social sometimes. A lot of people are both, right? You're probably like, I am both. I like to sometimes be very social at the gym, talk to people. They want to ask me questions on fitness or whatever. And then other times I put the headphones in and I'm ready to kick it in the ass, right?
Yeah.
So if you're either one, if you're just all Orange Theory, you might want to try also joining a big box gym, because then you get some privacy and you get to do whatever you want, however you want. It's a whole different experience.
Oh yeah, for sure. We have a lot of members that are members at our big box gym and do Orange Theory. And when members ask me, they're like, well, what do you think of, having another gym membership on top of this? I go, depends on your goals. And if that's something that fits your goals, then 100%, because that's what really fitness comes down to. It depends. The answer for most questions, it depends. It depends on you. What are you trying to look for? What are you trying to improve? What do you want out of your gym experience?
Yeah, and people don't realize how important it is to be in the right place to work out, because a lot of people join gyms that don't really even, including a lot of my friends that never go to work out. They almost, they'll just do it here and there. And I'm like, you don't like to work out with weights, so why do you keep joining that gym? It's almost, find a place that you love to work out and get the results. It may not be LA Fitness. It may be 24, not 24. Try Equinox, not try Orange Theory. Keep moving, but find something that you're going to be consistent and that you truly love to go, like you look forward to going to, not that you dread.
Yes, 100%. That's the biggest thing, because if you don't enjoy it, you're not going to stick with it. Adherence is everything. If you can't stick to it, no matter how hard you work in that time frame, eventually those results are going to fade if you're not staying consistent to it. So whether it be, doing rowing or running, your dog, or going to Orange Theory or going to your own thing, find something that you can adhere to long term, because fitness isn't just isn't a time frame goal. It should be a lifestyle change.
Yeah, and a life goal. It never ends, like lifetime. Yeah,
it should be something that becomes a part of your life that you look forward to from the first 3 months to 10 years later.
Yeah, absolutely. It's and you evolve. People got to realize too, there are sometimes, if you've been working out at this type of place for a long time, you may be getting bored. Try something new. Try a different sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was something else, but I can't even remember. I had so much stuff, but I think I nailed most of it. Yeah, this came out really good. I appreciate you doing this for me because I love you young guys.
No problem. This is a fun conversation.
I'm trying to keep up with you young guys. We have a family picnic every year, and I used to be like the one that was always kind of the biggest, strongest, fastest. Those days are those are gone. So I goof around. I always say I'm ready to hand over the torch. I make fun of Alex and you guys, Justin, and I won't hand it over. I should have handed it over 20 years ago. I've been I think this year, I don't even know if we're going to have the picnic. Doesn't look like it through this Corona thing.
Yeah, everything is up in the air now. I mean, I'm just waiting for the day I can go back to the gym. Like that's my main goal right now. When I can get back to coaching and get back into the gym, and when that happens, everything else is secondary. But who knows when that's going to be.
Yeah, Luke, have you looked in any of the apartment complex or townhome complexes? A lot of them are still open, or any of your buddies that live in those, just a heads up, those were able to stay open like mine.
Really?
So if you, if you have any friends in Texas that I'll bet you my life, if they have, most of them are like, as you know, like a hotel gym. They only usually have dumbbells up to 50 and maybe a Lifetime Fitness cable crossover and some leg stuff, but at least you get to go inside one of them if you wanted to. I know a lot of people don't like to leave their home, but that's how I've been holding on. And everybody's like, how are you working out still? I'm like, I go to my complex gym, but anyways, that's just something. That's your life.
I don't think I have any friends that live in anything like that. So, I mean, I've been really just diving deep into body weight workouts and, doing those, and, they're not great for building muscle, but, to a certain extent they can, maintain. So right now I'm just in maintain mode until this is all over.
You're fit as hell. All right, my man. That's all I really got. If anybody wants to get a hold of you, you want to tell them what orangetheory are you at in Dallas, right?
I'm at two. Yeah, I'm at two locations. I work at the Addison location and then the one in North Plano. So that's where I'm mostly coaching out of.
I go to Dallas all the time. I never knew you were there. Amazing.
Yeah.
I'm in Texas all the time.
Really? Well, I'm in North Dallas. So next time.
What the hell's next? I got cousins everywhere. I didn't know you were there.
Yeah, that's where I've been.
Do you see our cousins? Well, they're not there anymore either. The Owens.
The Owens, because Christy's all back up north and stuff. So I've seen Lou once or twice down here, Uncle Louie, but
Oh yeah, he's cool. He's doing the basketball stuff.
Yep.
All right, my man, that's all I got for you. Thanks again. I'm going to post this and kick your ass. I'm stealing one of your photos, and they're going to get the real deal regarding cheerleading. We're going to clear up all the nonsense.
Cool. Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right, brother. Oh, of course. Thank you. Take care.
You too.